What's up, everybody? It's me, Stevie, Supersmallchibiwolf, Supersmallchibiwolf, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 7 Tekken games. So let's get into this. Starting off with number 7, Tekken 6 on the Sony PlayStation 3. I enjoyed this game. It was wonderful. It was great. I enjoyed the story modes were interesting and fun. That was really cool. Now, I enjoy how the Tekken games always have like a wonderful cinematic intro. And when it comes down to Tekken 6, it was amazing, high action packed with some funny scenes, Oscar and Lily type. And I enjoy how they, have the different combo sets. I think this was a good one, but, I feel like when it comes down to Tekken 6, it was really fun and great, but compared to the ones before and after, I feel like this one was, it wasn't in that level, you know what I mean? I feel like this was great in story mode though. It was really fun and cool. Now, coming at number 6, Tekken 1 for the Sony PlayStation 1. I love Tekken 1. It starts off with Gallagher. The intro movie was wonderful and amazing. We see different scenes with the characters. Kazuya punching the fire on the candle at the end. Boom. Wonderful. I think when it comes down to classic fighting games, some franchises, it's hard to go back to, it kind of feels weird, this and that. But Tekken 1 on the Sony PlayStation 1 is one game that I know for sure, I go back to it. I'm going to have fun. I did have fun even playing it recently these days. And it's really great. Tekken 1 is one of those games that I would say is when it comes down to the Sony PlayStation 1, I highly recommend it. All the Tekken games on the PS1. But, I was thinking about this recently. I had these ideas of doing the Tekken games and, top. And I was like, some franchises, you go back to whether it's fighting game or not, and sometimes, they tend to be shaky and not really that great to go back to some games. But I would say Tekken games, you go back to it, it's always fun and great. And Tekken 1 always excites me to go back to because it's one of those games where I know that, throughout the years, it never disappointed me. And other games moving forward as well, it's really cool, that it keeps on evolving, and it's still a wonderful series. Coming in number 5, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 on the Sony PlayStation 3. Now, the intro movie was wonderful. I love it. You see the city, Jin and Asuka Kazama, going at it, doing their own thing, and then you see everyone else like Lily. Hey, I enjoy this game. I think when it comes down to Tekken Tag Tournament 2, it's wow, man. You get to have 2 characters, switch in between them, and I enjoy this because, I always enjoy the combo of Asuka and Jin, or maybe have like Asuka with like, say, Lily, or Lily with Jin, just the mix-ups, and then have other ones as well, the other characters, Jun and Asuka, really wonderful. And, I was playing this. This is one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games, and going and playing this one a lot here and there. There's different story modes and different arcade modes as well, inside modes. It makes me wonder, like what happened? Like why did Bandai Namco just forget about it? The PS4 didn't have any Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I don't know if Tekken Tag Tournament 3 is going to come out on PS5. These days fighting games are less likely to take, be experimental. I feel like companies in general are less experimental compared to back then. And I feel like a Tekken Tag Tournament 3 would be wonderful, especially with newcomers like Reina Mishima. That would be wonderful to do. Asuka and Reina in one team fighting online mode in tournaments or stuff like that, having fun. So, yeah, hopefully we get a third game in the series, but Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is a PlayStation 3 game I would highly recommend. It's really fun, really wonderful. The story modes are great. The combo move sets of everyone. And that's another thing, like the usual Tekken games have one combo move set, which is great and cool. But imagine having 2 different sets with 2 different characters, you see? That's the fun about these Tekken Tag Tournament games. They're really great. Also, a side thing, if they are going to bring back Tekken Tag Tournament and have like a Tekken Tag Tournament 3, please have Gon from Tekken 3, the dinosaur. If you know who Gon is from Tekken, you already know you had a wonderful time back then. Tekken needs Gon. I hope Tekken 8 DLC eventually adds Gone as well. So yeah. Coming in number 4 is Tekken 5 for the Sony PlayStation 2. And this game is wonderful. Dude, the intro movie was really cool. We see Kazuya and Heihachi fighting together. Then Kazuya uses Heihachi as a weapon and bait just to throw at the Jack mechas and then make his grand escape. Then we see Asakazama doing her wonderful thing, and all the other wonderful characters come together to create a wonderful intro scene. So yeah, I enjoy it. Also, there's like side modes, like for example, like besides like the character story modes and main story, there's like the Devil Within. Yeah, that's what it's called. So basically, this is a mode that has a fun beat 'em up style. Now, me personally, I enjoy using Jin. Jin is like wonderful in this game, his combo moveset, and everyone else too, I feel like when it comes down to Tekken 5, it's one game that I really love and enjoy. Now, this, I would say, the early 2000s has a specific comfort feel for me, you know what I mean, when it comes down to gaming. The 90s, depending the genre, some games you could find that was janky, and it's still the early 2000s as well, you know what I mean? Especially on PS2 from the ones I played. But I feel like in the early 2000s, they had more of, they took stuff more serious, and stuff. So I think it was wonderful, Tekken 5 with different modes and stuff. You could see real wonderful improvements and stuff. And it's really great. Also, you already know I have to bring this up. You already know the ending with Asakazama and Jin was wonderful. So yeah. Now, yeah, pretty cool. So coming in number 3. Now I'll be real. When it comes down to 3 and 2, I kind of go back and forth. You know what I mean? Even after like a few weeks playing these games and trying to see, which one do I really, you know what I mean? They're really cool. But then I realized, you know what? I enjoy the new storyline if we really focus just on the story. And that's where I come up with, coming in number 3 is Tekken 2 on the Sony PlayStation 1. I love the intro movie, it's chaotic, interesting. We see June walking the streets, boom, Julia, going home, and then we see, oh wow, it's broken in, creating a mystery, making it interesting for her. And then we see Kazuya reveal with, angel rings and Heihachi as well in the rain and the doom doom. It's really cool. They really make it interesting story to want to play these characters, want to be, invested in what's going on with their storyline. And that's really great, you know what I mean? When an intro movie of a video game, the cinematic intro really gets you like, okay, I'm invested now. You know what I mean? Without doing so much, they tease you enough to make you interested enough. So yeah, that's one thing I enjoy. I would say when it comes down to it, gameplay-wise, it's a perfect example of improvement. This is what a sequel should be like. It's really cool. Now, one thing I would say, though, to skip on is Devil Kazuya, or Devil, in the mirror room, that final fights. It's wonderful and cool. Me, personally, I enjoy using June. For me, I don't know, man. Like, I use the other characters and they're funny cool, but I feel like with June, I speed run the game. You know what I mean? I get like the speed run, like the hardest parts, all that. So I enjoy using her and her combo sets and movements as well, the most, So yeah, I enjoy Tekken 2. It's wonderful. Now, number 2, I would say Tekken 8 on the PlayStation 5. Now, hear me out. Minus all the other add-ons and stuff that, Bandai Namco has added, like, if you know, Tekken 8 before and after that update that is now, which is basically more, commercialized and stuff, all that stuff, modern gaming stuff. I enjoyed that they added, because, I was thinking about this, a lot recently, and I was like, in modern times, there's really not a lot there. And a lot of franchises, unfortunately, went downhill. You know what I mean? So to see Tekken 8 really just pump it up, really keep going strong, even after, 2-3 years since Tekken 8 came out. And it's really just improving, introducing new amazing characters with amazing movesets and combos and a interesting story to back it off. And, so much more. You know what I mean? I think that's amazing, especially in modern times where gaming is really, you know what I mean? So I wanted to give some more love and appreciation to that, you know what I mean? And also, the PS5 really doesn't have that many cool games, so something like Tekken 8 to keep that console alive, I think that's cool enough. Now, I would say this, you know, when it comes down to Tekken 2 and 8, I was debating. I would say Tekken 2 does, you know, I favor that a little bit more than Tekken 8 in the way as a game and whole and story mode and all that. But because Tekken 8, you know, has that, you know, it just kept it alive for me, the PS5, next to the King of Fighters 15, you know what I mean? And now, in recent times, Silent Hill F and Resident Evil 9 Requiem. So, yeah, that's, I think that's logical. Now, honorable mention. Now, I'll be real, you know, base game Tekken 7, I loved it and it was fun, you know, it was cool, but then later on, you know, it didn't really live up, you know what I mean? It just, yeah. PS3 in general, you know, those mainline games of some seriousness really didn't live up to me, you know what I mean, compared to like before and after, so. But don't get me wrong, like they're still great and amazing in their own unique ways, but, no, PS4, I mean, yeah. Some PS4 games, such as like Tekken 7, it was really cool, you know what I mean? Many franchises, but some of them kind of didn't last for me compared to other ones. Like, for example, I know if I go to turn on Tekken 8 or Tekken 3, or any of the other ones, I'm going to spend a good few days, you know, wanting to play it and enjoy it. But Tekken 7, I really didn't get that much. But I could still appreciate the fun times I did have, and I could still appreciate that the story modes of it in this, depending on the character, was really fun and cool. But I feel like games before and after did them more justice. So that's where I land on Tekken 7. Now, coming in at number 1, Tekken 3 on the Sony PlayStation 1. Now, real quick, I love the Sony PlayStation 1, you know, Final Fantasy 7, Metal Gear, Pocket Fighters, Street Fighter Alpha 3. You know, you have wonderful games and many amazing things, you know, also like that, all the side things, you know what I mean? PlayStation 1 had a lot of amazing games, and when I think about it, the PS1, Tekken 3 is probably in my top 5, favorite of all time PS1 games, you know. Now, I would say that, you know, one thing that I also think about when, you know, ranking games is, can I go back and spend hours and hours or you know, going and doing different things besides story mode and all that, you know, the side missions and all. And yeah, man, Tekken 3 was always one of those games throughout the years that I've gone back to and enjoyed highly. It was really cool and fun. And it's one of those games I grew up into with, you know, next to like Final Fantasy 7 or Super Mario World or something like that. You know, it was really cool and fun. I enjoyed those games, you know. So yeah, with that being that, let me know in the comments what's your favorite Tekken games. You know what I mean? I personally love the Tekken series. I'm excited to see what future DLC Tekken 8 has, and I'm hoping the best that Namco brings out Tekken Tag Tournament 3. I think that would be wonderful and cool. Let me know what you think about that. You know, Asuka, Reina, boom, one team. Wonderful. So with all that being that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye.